Gaura Haribo. Krishna Govinda. This is no good? Huh? It's coming. Let's go. Okay, so they wouldn't. We went to the Srimad temple this morning. They wouldn't let me leave. I finally escaped. So that's why we're late. I finally escaped. Go. But then they won't understand here. Okay. Do you have that mic?
No, I get one.
Who has the microphone? Somebody, okay?
Open the
Gaura Haribo, Gaura Haribo. I think we have a Bhagavatam verse, yes? This is the second canto, chapter 9, text 2. Maybe I'll just read it because we're late. Is that okay? And somebody has a microphone and they disappeared with it. They liked it. Decided they wanted to keep it. Bahurupa Vibhati read the word meanings now. You can repeat Bahurupa, multi-forms, Eva, as it were, Abhati, manifested, Maya, by the influence of the external energy, Bahurupaya, in multifarious forms. Namamanaha, enjoying as it were. Puneshu, in the modes of different qualities. Asya, of the material energy. Excuse me, of the external energy. Mama, mine. Aham, I. Iti, thus. Manyate, thinks. What is that? Temple construction? What? You're digging a well. You have to dig it now? You have to dig it later? I'll wear it here. Krishna Govinda. It's in all the way? Okay. Translation. The illusioned living entity appears in so many forms offered by the external energy of the Lord. While enjoying in the modes of material nature, the encaged living entity misconceives, thinking in terms of I and mine. I means I am the enjoyer, I am the controller. And mine means I claim things. Mine means false ego. Because the function of false ego is to claim something as mine. Like
If you have no false ego, you don't think the body is yours, or you don't think the mind is yours. And if you have no false ego, if you do something great, you won't become proud. You won't claim it as yours. You'll claim it as Krishna's. Yes? I'm very intelligent. No, Krishna, false ego says I'm very intelligent. Real ego says Krishna is giving me intelligence. False ego says I did something great. Real ego says something great happened by Krishna's mercy. Yes? That's the difference. So false ego always wants to claim something. You have a thought. You think, that's my thought. So the reason we identify with the mind is because false ego is claiming, oh yeah, I'm very smart. False ego, these are my thoughts. These are my ideas. My wife, my home, my country, my, that's false ego. Yes? So that's the mind part. And the I part is Purusha and Ishvara. I'm controller, I'm enjoyer. Look at that. That looks enjoyable. I'd like to have that. That's Purusha Bhav. I am the center. Everything is for my enjoyment. And a devotee thinks everything's for Krishna's enjoyment. Look at that. That would be nice for Krishna. Look at that. That would be nice for me. Why nice for me? Because I am the Purusha. But we're actually Prakriti. And we're trying to enjoy. And we're doing a really bad job. And if we let Krishna give us enjoyment, he can do a better job than we can do. But the way we let Krishna give up enjoyment is by stopping trying to enjoy and serving him. And then when we serve him, we get enjoyment as a byproduct. And the enjoyment we get is far greater than any enjoyment we can create. So this mentality that I'm the enjoyer causes us to struggle. Every day we're trying to be happy. How good are we at being happy? Well, today when you go home, I'd like you to do an exercise. Oh, there's the flower that puts rashes on my neck. Oh, I have to wear it like this. This is certified. This flower puts rashes on my neck. Guaranteed. No, it's good. Like this. If it's on the shirt, it's okay. Okay, when you go home tonight, I want you to do something. Look at everyone in their cars and on their scooters and in the buses. Look at their face. And tell me if you think that's the face of a happy person. And I would like you to do some statistical research to analyze the face of the person in the SUV as opposed to the face of the person on the motor scooter. And see if you notice a significant difference in the happiness levels. Or the people on the bus. Or maybe the face of a person on the bus might look happier than a person in a Mercedes. It's amazing how miserable people look when they sit in cars, isn't it? I mean, of course there's good reason when you're in traffic. But my point is, our number one priority in life is to be happy. And if that is our number one priority, and all our energy is going into being happy, that ultimately psychologists say everything we do is to find pleasure and avoid pain. If that's true, we're doing a horrible job. If that's the number one goal, how happy are we? You know, you say, my goal is to make money. How much do you have? Oh, not much. What does that mean? You've dedicated your life to making money, you don't have much? And whenever I get it, I lose it. So how happy are you? Not that happy. And whenever I become happy, I lose it after a day or a week or a month. So, what is the point? The point is, we are not very good at making ourselves happy. You agree? And the reason is because we put ourselves in the position of Purusha. And Purusha cannot enjoy. Only Prakriti can enjoy. And so that's the meaning of I. I am the controller and I am the enjoyer. And ultimately, I and mine means I'm competing with Krishna. Which is really a bad idea. You read the Bhagavatam, there were some people who tried to compete with Krishna, even one who dressed up like Krishna. Bad idea. Where did he end up? He lost his head, right? Didn't he? Lose his head? Yeah. Literally lost his. First he lost his head because he thought he was Krishna. And then he actually lost his head when he challenged Krishna. And he was challenging Krishna as an imposter. I mean, that's crazy. He dresses up as Krishna and says, Krishna, you're an imposter. That's what we're doing. We're coming to the material world imitating Krishna. I don't need God. There's no God. I'm God. It's like we're like little Pandrakas. You know, there's like 7 billion Pandrakas walking around. You know? Hare Krishna. Pandraka was one serious madman. Yes? I mean, it's not like Mayavad think they're God. That's bad enough. That's bad. But to actually think you're Vishnu and dress up like Vishnu and believe it, that's amazing. Actually believed it. Krishna, give up your weapons of Vishnu and surrender. That's what Pandraka is telling Krishna. And Krishna says, yes, I will give up my weapons to you right now. And he gave up his weapons as requested and chopped Pandraka's head off. Yeah. So, you know, it's a bad idea to compete with Krishna. Okay, let's read the purport. Could you imagine your guru initiates you and he gives you the name Pandraka? Prabhupada initiated a devotee, Bhavananda. And Bhavananda means one who enjoys the material world. So he thought Prabhupada has named him because of what Prabhupada sees in his heart, that I just want to enjoy the material world. He said, Prabhupada, why did you give me this name? It means the enjoyer of the material world. He said, Prabhupada said, yes, devotees enjoy the material world by preaching Krishna consciousness. The different forms of the living entities are different dresses offered by the illusory external energy of the Lord according to the modes of nature. According to the modes of nature, the living entity desires to enjoy. But Prabhu, I didn't want to be fat, and I got a fat body. It's not fair. Prabhupada's saying, you're getting a body exactly as you want. But Prabhu, I wanted an American body. How come I got an Indian body? I wanted an Indian body. How come I got an American body? But here Prabhupada's saying, everything, ultimately we get, we want it. Or in some direct or indirect way, we want it. Now, something very interesting I'd like to discuss with you. Have you ever seen another person and thought, I wish I had muscles like that, or eyes like that, or I don't want to say what the women might think, but, you know, I wish I had a body like that, or hair like that, or eyelashes like that, or slender like that. We all do that, right? When I was young, I was a surfer. And surfers typically had blonde hair, so I thought, I'm so unfortunate I don't have blonde hair. I had brown hair. So I'd always think, well, it would be nice to have blonde hair and blue eyes. That's kind of the surfer look, tan skin. So we all think like that. Oh, I wish I had, Then you see some beautiful model, and you think, oh, I wish I had a body like that. And that's exactly what's going on. We're creating our next body by all these desires. Oh, I wish I were taller, shorter, thinner, bigger. Yeah, you're creating your next body with all those thoughts. Yes? So somehow or other we must have created this body in some way. We must have created it somehow or other. Yes? Maybe in my last life I was an Indian and I was thinking, America, that's the country. And I die, my last word is America. And I take birth in America. Maybe you were Americans and thinking, India is cool, yoga, vegetarianism, and you all took birth in India. Who knows? How can you say? But definitely we designed our bodies. Right? And so, be careful, ladies and gentlemen, about meditating on America, because you could take birth in America. Of course, the Hare Krishna movement is there, so that's also a blessing. Sometimes when a devotee comes to me, says, Prabhu, I have to talk to you. I have a problem with my family. And I say, mother-in-law, right? And they go, yes. Yes. And they tell me the whole problem. It's definitely a TV serial, script, Totally. I say, why don't you just write that as a script? At least you could make money. Your mother-in-law will help you make money. Everything she says will be part of the script. And then I say, Mataji, I bless you in your next life. You will take birth in America because you'll have no mother-in-law problems in America. So there are benefits in taking birth in America. Hare Krishna. The external material energy is represented by her three modes, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance. So even in the material nature, there is a chance of an independent choice by the living entity. And according to his choice, the material energy offers him different varieties of material bodies. There are 900,000 varieties of material bodies in the water. 900,000, how many have you seen or heard of? 10 or 12? It's amazing, huh? 2 million vegetable bodies. No way. 2 million vegetable bodies. We're missing out on a lot of vegetables. Yes? 1,110,000 worms and reptiles, 1 million forms of birds, 3 million different bodies of beasts, and 400,000 human forms. Altogether, there are 8,400,000 varieties of bodies in different planets of the universe. And the living entity is traveling by so many transmigrations according to different modes of enjoying spirit within himself. Even in one particular body, the living entity changes from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth, from youth to old age, and from old age to another body created by his own action. The living entity creates his own body by his personal desires, and the external energy of the Lord supplies him the exact form by which he can enjoy his desires to the fullest extent. So everyone has a body which is suited for the kind of enjoyment they want. So the body is made after the consciousness, the thought. What kind of body do you want? What do you want to enjoy? And you get that form. So I may have mentioned to you that I was with Prabhupada in his garden, and he was talking about surfers. So even Prabhupada talked about surfing, because he saw surfers, because he would walk on the beach and he would see surfers. And he said, the surfers will take birth as fish in their next life. Now, how did Prabhupada know that? Because you get a body to facilitate your mentality. So I can testify as a former surfer that we like being in the ocean more than we like being in the land. And if you like being in the ocean more than you like being in the land, what kind of birth will you get in your next life? And you're a surfer. Seal or dolphin, because they both surf waves. You ever see dolphins or seals? They actually ride the waves. Perfect. Right? You can be in the water all the time. You don't have to go to school. Because now we'd have to miss school to go surfing. So you don't have to worry about school. You don't have to worry about the land. Does it make sense? Then you see skin divers. You ever see skin divers? They put on wetsuits. What do they? And they put on fins. So you get the picture, right? They look pretty much like fish, except for those tanks on the back, which humans need, fish don't. But pretty much they look like fish. They put on fish feet and a fish skin, and then they go diving. So, hello, what kind of body do you think they want? Yes? So material nature says, okay, that's what you want? Fish body. Why worry about the tank and the wetsuit? Just have a body that's got a built-in tank and a built-in wetsuit. It's a lot easier. Yes? Why worry about skydiving when you could be a bird? That's like, you got to put these wings on you and jump off mountains. That's cumbersome. So you get the point. So that's what Prabhupada means. The body is designed after the mentality. Who becomes a cockroach? Who would desire to become a cockroach? Prabhupada said the hippies will be cockroaches in their next life because they're so dirty. So there's even a body for people who are dirty. That suits, if you want to be dirty, you could become a cockroach and you'll just live in dirt. Isn't that interesting? Then Prabhupada said, an astrologer had said, that one man, after he died, he was so attached to the home, he ended up taking birth as a dog. And he went back to that house, and all his former relatives knocking him in the head, chasing him. So it's interesting. But anyway, it's being said right here. Even in one particular body, the living entity changes from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth, youth to old age, and from old age to another body, created by his own action. The living entity creates his own body by his personal desires, and the external energy of the Lord supplies him the exact form by which he can enjoy his desires to the fullest extent. The tiger wanted to enjoy McDonald's. No, it doesn't say that. It says, just wanted to see if you're awake. Are you awake? Turn to the person next to you and say, Prabhu, I'm awake. Mataji, I'm awake. Okay. You have to check every once in a while. The tiger wanted to enjoy the blood of another animal. And therefore, by the grace of the Lord, the material energy supplied him the body of the tiger with facilities for enjoying blood from another animal. Similarly, a living entity desiring to get the body of a demigod in a higher planet can also get it by the grace of the Lord. And if he is intelligent enough, he can desire to get a spiritual body to enjoy the company of the Lord, and he will get it. So Prabhupada's saying, it's the same process. You can become a tiger, a demigod, or a spiritual body. It's just the desire. One man met Prabhupada and he said, Srila Prabhupada, I desire to become a pure devotee. And Prabhupada said, this is such a good desire. So if you have a desire to become a pure devotee, that's the best desire you can have. That is the desire. Whatever you want, Krishna will give you, which is both good and bad, right? It's dangerous. The Dalai Lama said, I'm glad God does not fulfill every one of my prayers, because if he did, I would be in trouble. Yes? You imagine God fulfilled every one of your desires and prayers, you know. I see someone I don't like, I go, I hate that guy, I wish he were dead. He's dead. Whoa, I'd be in trouble, you know. The karma I'd be creating. Look at that woman, she's so beautiful. I wish she'd leave her husband and come with me, and you know, all of a sudden she shows up at my house. I'm here. That's going to be a problem. You're going to get it from your wife and you're going to get it from her husband. You know? So, yes? We could make a movie like this, you know. Everything the guy thinks it happens, and you just show how messed up his life becomes because our desires are so messed up. Isn't it? So you imagine if everything you desired had happened, wow, that would be crazy. And in the spiritual world, it says everything you desire, it becomes a reality, which is why they're not going to let us into the spiritual world at this point, because we would totally ruin that place. Wouldn't we? They're not going to let us in there with all our crazy desires. People would say, what's going on here? There's all these weird things happening. They'll all point to us, and they'll say, who let him in? Get him out. He's ruining everything. So, yes? You agree? That's another TV serial. Bhakta Burfi, he sneaks into the spiritual world, and then all these crazy things are going on because he doesn't fit. He doesn't have the mindset for the spiritual world. So he gets there and he's like envious of people. He's complaining. Why is everybody worshiping Krishna? You know, why don't they worship me? What's going on here? So you can imagine if you're not suited in consciousness for the spiritual world, you can't fit in there. And so that's why down here nobody notices that our consciousness is weird, because we're all in material consciousness, so we all fit in really well, right? We're all envious, jealous, so that's just normal. You know, you don't notice any difference. But if you went to the spiritual world, you would immediately notice there's something wrong with this guy. He's not supposed to be here. So as long as we're jealous, envious, and we have all these material qualities, this is where we stay, because this is where we fit. We're perfectly fit in here. Yeah, you want to talk about so many things going on in this world, politics and sports and this and that. You fit in perfectly. In fact, if you don't talk about those things, people think something's wrong with you. Why aren't you talking about politics? Why don't you talk about the latest movies and fashion? What's wrong with you? Right? So this is the world for those people. They fit right in. Everything's normal. But here it said, if you have a desire to be a pure devotee, that desire, that's it. Krishna will work with that desire. Whatever desire we have, Krishna works with it. And I was telling the devotees on the way over here, if you're sincere, Krishna will always help you, he'll always protect you. He'll always ultimately fulfill your spiritual desire. But the danger is, maybe we don't want Krishna. Maybe we want something other than Krishna. And we want it more strongly than Krishna. Then all we can do is pray, Krishna, please, change that desire. And please don't fulfill that desire. Every night before you go to bed, you can pray to Krishna, please do not fulfill these crazy desires of mine. Because if you did, I'm going to be in huge trouble. Right? Yes? So who's going to do that TV serial? Bhakta Burfi. Bhakta Burfi goes back to Godhead and all the things, crazy things he's thinking. There was a cartoon with all these people doing yoga, and it had thought bubbles over each one. What are they thinking? And it was so funny. It was just typical envious thoughts. I don't even want to say what was in the thought bubble. It's kind of vulgar, but it's, you know, that typical material thinking that everybody thinks. It's why we're here. If you're envious of anybody, you have to come back and take birth again. This is where envious people live. Envious people don't live up there. If you're envious, you can't get in there. They won't let you. It's not possible. There's a security guard there. He's checking you. Who invited you here? How did you find out about this place? You know, there's immigration. You know, you're not going to get in if you're envious. Yes? It's not the place for envious people. So that pure desire, we talk about be humble, don't be envious, don't be jealous. And you're thinking, oh, that's too hard, or why do we have to do that? Yeah, because you want to go there and you're still envious. they don't let you in. They check your visa and they go, no, this is not valid. You're still envious. Who gave you this visa? It's a mistake. You can't come in. Yes? Hare Krishna. Okay. If he is intelligent enough, he can desire to get a spiritual body to enjoy the company of the Lord, and he will get it. And he will get it. India is more advanced because on Sunday this wouldn't happen in America. You're working harder than Americans. Americans, they work hard, but not on Sunday. Sunday they relax. Or they sleep, but they don't work. So you're more advanced than Americans. So the minute freedom of a living entity can be fully utilized, and the Lord is so kind that he will award the living entity the same type of body he desires. The living entity's desiring is like dreaming of a gold mountain. Gold mountain. A person knows that what a mountain is, and he also knows what gold is. Out of his desire only, he dreams of a golden mountain. And when the dream is over, he sees something else in his presence. He finds in his awkward state that there is neither gold nor a mountain, and what to speak of a golden mountain. So Prabhupada's saying, we're desiring things that don't exist in this world. We're just imagining, oh, I wish it were like this. I wish it were like that. You know what's so funny? Not funny, but so true. We all have these desires and we think, well, if I just had this, I'd be happy, right? Or if I just didn't have this, I'd be happy, right? Sometimes it works the other way. You get what you want, and then later on, I wish I didn't have it, right? Now, what's so interesting about it is that right now we're thinking, if I just had this, I'll be happy. But a year ago, we were thinking, if I just had this, I'd be happy. And the this that I wanted, I have it now. And I'm still thinking, if I just had this, I'll be happy. So next year, when I get this, then when I have that, I'll be thinking, if I just had this, I'll be happy. So where does the just, if I just had this, I'll be happy, end? It doesn't end. We always think that way, so we have to be smart. We're thinking now, if I just have this, I'll be happy. But how many thises do you have that you were thinking in the last 10 years would make you happy? You have so many thises. If I just had this, it would make me happy. And still you're thinking, if I just had this. What does that mean? That means it's an impossible project. So Prabhupada's saying, we're dreaming this, gold mountain. This will make me happy. There's no gold mountain. And as a devotee, we're supposed to be dreaming, if I just were a pure devotee, my life would be perfect. That's what we're supposed to desire, not a gold mountain. Yes? That's intelligent. And Prabhupada's saying in the purport, if one is intelligent, they'll desire to go back to Godhead. They'll desire a spiritual body. And we know in Kali Yuga we're not that smart. Spiritually, materially we may be smart, but spiritually we're not that smart. You agree? It's amazing, isn't it? Didn't Albert Einstein said there's two things that are infinite, the universe and people's stupidity? Something like that. It's amazing sometimes how spiritually stupid we can be, right? Infinite stupidity. And fortunately, Srila Prabhupada is giving us some intelligence so we don't have to remain infinitely stupid. The different positions of the living entities in the material world under multifarious manifestations of bodies are due to the misconception of mine and I. The karmi thinks of this world as mine, and the yogi jnani thinks, I am everything. The whole material conception of politics, sociology, philanthropy, altruism, etc., conceived by the conditioned souls, is on the basis of this misconceived I and mine, which are products of a strong desire to enjoy material life. identification with the body and the place where the body is obtained under the different conceptions of socialism, nationalism, family affection, and so on and so forth, is all due to forgetfulness of the real nature of the living entity, and the whole misconception of the bewildered living entity can be removed by the association of Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, as this is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So you have any questions? Yes, Prashna Das has a question. How many questions do you have? He says he has only one. I don't believe him. Because after I answer this question, he's going to have another question. Okay, Prashna Das. Well, we have competition between Prashna Das and Sita Lungi. Who can ask more questions? So let's start the competition. Okay, you go first.
You heard about surfers desiring to be in water, and the material nature gives them the fish body. So in the fish body there is no sort of desire.
Oh yeah. He's saying, let's say I desire to surf and then I get a fish body. And then, so what if the fish desires to get a human body? The fish won't desire that. And even if he did, it's too late now. He goes up this chain. And so if you fall into the ocean, you're on the bottom of the chain. You have to go through all the other species. That's why it said the fish are the lowest, even though dolphins are so smart, but they're the lowest from the human form of life. So that's what it means, lowest. Not necessarily the lowest from a material perspective, but the lowest from human form of life. So no, once you get out of the human form of life, you're just put back on the conveyor belt and you have to pass through species. And then when you get to, I think, like gorilla life, is it cow, gorilla, and monkey or something? Then your next, what? Horse? Horse or cow? Yeah, anyway, you get, to me it looks like gorillas are pretty close, right? Chimpanzees and gorillas, they look pretty close to human. But anyway, then you gradually go up and then at a cow or becomes a human in goodness and like that. So, surfers are the most unfortunate because they'll become fish and then they have to recycle through all the other species of life. So don't become a surfer and don't get attached to the ocean, because you'll be in trouble. Although I have this strong desire to have a house on the ocean, but maybe that's dangerous. But maybe you could desire to be in a Leela with Matsya Avatar. Fulfill your desire. Yes?
You say that we always try to do something for happiness.
Yeah, we always try to do something for happiness.
So, what is wrong in that?
What's wrong with that?
Can we not have material goods?
I just want to be happy. What's wrong with just wanting to be happy? Well, I guess the first question, well, there's two things wrong with it. Well, there's at least one thing wrong with it. That means, what about making Krishna happy? Why are you happy and not him? Why are you thinking about your happiness and not his? That's the first thing wrong with it. And the second thing is, how do you want to be happy? So then we might find some big things wrong with your methodology for being happy. Or, how do I want to be happy? Go to McDonald's, then get drunk, then find some girls. And you're saying, no, I wouldn't do that. Yeah, but how many ants will you step on the way to being happy? And how many germs will you kill? So you'll be collecting all this karma just by trying to be happy. Because anything you do for yourself, you collect karma. Plus, if we look at it philosophically, you can't even be happier than you're supposed to be. Because karmically, you have a certain amount of happiness. So don't even worry about it. Just try to be dharmic and you'll get your happiness will come automatically. That's how we look at it. And instead of putting all your energy into making yourself happy, you can put all your energy into your spiritual advancement and making Krishna happy. Because your happiness is going to come anyway. And if you're Krishna conscious, then you get more happiness. You get ananda, not just sukha. Ananda. Sukha and ananda are different. So you can get material happiness, but you can't, that won't give you ananda. And the material happiness, what is material happiness? Comfort, sensual pleasure, having things, position. That's pretty shallow. We can blow that away. You can lose your position, you can lose your possessions. Just it's gone, right? So that's why we're not trying to be materially happy. But if you want to be materially happy, have nice things and so forth, that's fine. Just use them for Krishna. Make Krishna the center of your happiness. Because if you want to go back to Godhead, you have to get out of the false ego that I'm the enjoyer and that things are for my happiness. Otherwise, when you go to immigration in the spiritual world, they're going to go, oh, it says here on your visa that you want to be happy in the material world. Okay, back, can't come in. So I guess the short answer to your question is, you want to go back to Godhead? Stop trying to be happy here and make Krishna happy. You want to stay here? You can keep trying. But I have to warn you, you've been trying for millions of years. And so, you've had enough time to figure it out. And, so we're telling you this is how to do it. Please, Krishna. Make Krishna happy, you'll be happy. You agree? You make Krishna happy, you'll be happy? Yes? No? Maybe? We have a question. Looks serious. You mentioned that if we are envious, he cannot go to the spiritual world. Because we were envious of Krishna, we came to this material world. Hence, this envious nature is very, very old, and it is very difficult to eradicate. How do we know that we got rid of this envious nature and are qualified to enter the spiritual world? Hare Krishna. If you're envious of any person on this planet, you haven't got rid of it. So it's not that you should think, I'm not envious of Krishna, I'm just envious of you. No, if I'm envious of you, it means I'm envious of Krishna. So how do you know you're not you're purified your tendency to be envy when you're no longer envious of anybody? Fault finding is part of it. Thinking I'm better, wanting to pull people down, all of that. But the insidious nature of envy is that somebody is successful and you don't like it. Makes you unhappy. Oh, he's successful. That makes me miserable. I wish he were not successful. I'm going to pray tonight that he's not successful. Because it really bothers me. Because I'm smarter than him, and he shouldn't be more successful than me. The world is not fair. Actually, I'm going to do some black magic so he gets fired from his job, because I can't stand to know that he's more successful than me. And you think like that, and you think you're going to go back to Godhead? They won't even let you get in line at immigration. They're going to smell you a mile away. Yes? So, you have to, maybe we should do a seminar and we'll call it Immigration to Vaikuntha. And, and you'll have a physical exam. The doctor will come and go, oh, your envy is a little high. It's, it's 140 over 90. It should be like 120 over 80. Okay, what's the next thing? What about your jealousy? Oh, that's really bad. That's in the danger zone. Okay, what about lust? Oh my God, I need a new meter. You just broke my meter with your lust. Yeah. Yes? So you have, in your life, you have the dash panel. Actually, a godbrother of mine, he gave me this idea for a workshop. You have all these odometers for all these different aspects. And then you go through each odometer and say, okay, where is the odometer? And then you have a course, that day on that odometer and try to bring it down to zero. And let's get lust to zero, greed to zero, envy to zero, jealousy to zero, and so forth. Bring it all down, So, yeah. How do you know you're envious? Well, the short answer is, if you're alive, you're probably envious. That's the condition of this material world. Unless you're pure. How do you know I'm envious? Prabhu, are you a pure devotee yet? Not yet. You know you're envious. It pretty much goes with the territory. Yes. In the competition for questions is Dr. Vijayalakshmi, running a close second to Prashna Das. Questions are good. Prabhupada said questions are a sign of intelligence. I'm just joking. I like questions. Yes?
Scenario is that the persons are living in a society where divorce and widowhood are not taken right to.
We're living in a society where material goals are spiritual.
Like divorce and widowhood is not accepted. And
We live in a society where divorce and other... You mean ISKCON society?
no, not this one society.
The world.
The
Divorce.
For example, in the olden days, divorce was not
Oh yeah.
accepted.
We live in a society in India in which
Yeah.
divorce was not accepted. Changing, yeah. Yes. Tradition, yeah.
And they couldn't get married. So now in today's scenario, there is this woman who's emotionally and physically battered.
Oh, there are women who are physically battered by their husbands.
Yeah, and emotionally battered. And it's very difficult for them to come out with the support system.
It's difficult for them to come out because there's no support system, because the family just tells them to stay in the marriage and tolerate.
And the husband progresses and does very well for himself. Then she gets angry.
The husband progresses, she gets angry, he continues to abuse her.
Questions God that why has he progressed? Why hasn't I?
Oh, he's progressing materially. Why is he progressing materially and not? So she loses her faith in God because of that. That's what.
No, what I'm saying is this cannot be envy.
No. Oh, she's asking, is that envy? No. Envy can come up, but that's not purely envy. What is she desiring? Equality, some kind of what? Fair treatment?
A normal life, happy life, and to see but nothing happened. Just went down.
So she's asking why God allows that? Yeah. Wait till the next life. The tables will have shifted. You know, I had this god brother and god sister. They were like at one another like two boxers. That was their marriage, was like a boxing ring. And so, you know, just give them boxing gloves on their anniversary because that's what they need. You know? Seriously. And so they did their astrology, and it said in their last lives they were warriors on opposing sides of the battle. So there was no question that marriage was going to work. So sometimes there are, you know, this is not to say that we're not concerned about mistreatment and that we would condone it in any way. But there are situations in which you try to resolve it and it doesn't seem to happen. And that may be karmically inevitable. You know, like you should be able to change it and you can, because there's some relative won't allow it and some situation is such that if she tries to leave, it'll be worse. And so we have to accept that also. That, you know, maybe she was the husband in the last life and treated him as the wife like that. You don't know. It's possible. But at least we know that however you treat someone in this life, you will be treated that way in the next one. So if a man abuses a woman, it's likely he'll be a woman and be abused, possibly by her as a man.
As astrology tells all the samskaras of the person, it's easy to decide about
Does astrology make it easier to decide who to marry?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's all the samskars.
Yeah, it does. Although I have a theory that, let's say, according to your karma, there's a certain amount of suffering that's meant to happen. So you'll probably end up going to an astrologer who says you're compatible when you're not, because you're supposed to suffer. So I think, it's more complicated than straightforward. Or the astrologer just overlooked one planet, which, if he would have noticed it, would have said, don't get married. And why did he overlook it? Because they were supposed to get married. So that's there also. So in terms of those things, we try our best, but sometimes there are higher arrangements being made due to past karma, that things will work out a certain way. And it's a little tricky, because we don't want to condone anything which is immoral or unjust. But as you probably know, sometimes some things you can't resolve it. It's like there's an energy against resolving it. Well, you can't resolve it immediately. It's like that person has to suffer a little more, and then it gets resolved later. So that can happen also. You're a doctor, you're trying to cure somebody. It may not be their time to be cured. Maybe it's next year. Maybe it's never. You give the same cure for the same patient, had the same disease, and it's not working the same way. So there is some karma there. Right? We had a devotee. She was diagnosed with cancer. Said, okay, I'll go to Govardhan and I'll just do Govardhan Purkram every day and die. She does Govardhan Purkram every day and cures the cancer. And she wanted to die. She was totally depressed because I wanted to die and I got better. So, because the world is nothing, is that straight. You'd think she'd be happy. So, she wasn't meant to die yet. The whole world is teaching us that we're not controllers. So we try our best. We do what's right, but there is this karmic factor that is working alongside, underneath, creating results. Yes.
It's not collective consciousness, but so I think God can, when King Navachat's daughter Sati is very upset with her father.
Sati was upset with her father because he offended Lord Shiva, and she decided to kill herself.
No, but Prabhupada writes that in a very mystic way. He never writes she went into the fire.
She burned herself by her mystic power.
By her mystic power. Yeah. But
She had the power to put herself on fire.
But at the same time, Prabhupada said that we should not waste this life.
Yes, okay.
So
So-
what is the significance of
So she's saying, Sati was offended by her father, and, Sati was offended because her father offended Lord Shiva. Jagannath Swami ki jai. Sati was offended because her father offended Lord Shiva. And so Sati decided, I don't want to be connected with this family because of what my father has done. I feel polluted by being in this lineage, and so I want to kill myself so I won't be connected with that family anymore. So she had the mystic power to burn her body, and that's what she did. So Vijay Lakshmi is asking, so do we have I guess I can expand your question. Do we have a right to mistreat our body, to kill it? Shouldn't we preserve it and use it for devotional service? Well, there's another story. Sanatana Goswami had contracted some kind of disease. His body was full of pus and scabs and like that. And he went to see Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu met him and embraced him. And he thought, all right, this is it. Because anything within your body, inside your body that comes out is a pollutant. So you can't worship it. If you sneeze, and You have to go wash, if not take a bath. And that's why women can't worship deities during their menstrual period, because something inside is coming out. Even if you have a cut and it's bleeding, technically you shouldn't be in the kitchen, you shouldn't be on the altar. Right? So now all this pus or whatever is coming from inside his body, and then Mahaprabhu comes in and embraces him. And he thinks, that's it, my life is destroyed. I've made the biggest offense. Mahaprabhu has embraced my body. And this is such an offense that he's touched all this oozing stuff. So then he decided, I'll kill myself. And Mahaprabhu said, you cannot kill yourself because that's not your body. It's my body. And so you don't have a right to make a decision about my body. You can't decide to kill my body. It's my body. And the first time I heard that story was in a Bhagavatam class. And you know why Prabhupada told that story? Because everybody was coughing. And he said, why is everybody sick? And then he told that story, and he said, therefore, your body is Krishna's body, and you should take care of it. You don't have a right not to take care of it. Now, advanced devotees sometimes transcend. So they can sleep less, eat less, and not take care of their body and function as well as the normal person who would have to eat more and sleep more. So then Prabhupada ended the lecture and he said, you should take care of your body. He said, not that you should be totally absorbed in caring for your body, but some care must be taken. So that's when I first heard that story. He stopped the Bhagavatam class because devotees were coughing. He told that story and he said, some care should be taken. So Sati's position was special, that she could no longer tolerate being the daughter of Daksha, and she had the Shakti to burn herself up. So that's different. Then I had something happened. I don't know what it was. Maybe I had sprained my ankle. I sprained my knee last February, and someone had sent me a letter that Prabhupada sent to a disciple who was not well. And he wrote her, health first, sadhana second, service third. That was his instruction to her. So the devotee sent me that instruction because I was recuperating. I had sprained my knee on both sides and I pulled what's called a meniscus. So I had to do therapy and so on. So health first. So for that 6 weeks, it was health first for sure. Now we told the story, I don't know if I told you, we had told the story about a devotee named Jayananda who had leukemia. I think I told you the story. And he was spending a fair amount of money on curing leukemia and it wasn't getting much better. And he felt like rather than waste all this money, better I just die. Just give up, you know. He was 38, 37, 36 maybe. And he wrote Prabhupada expressing that sentiment. And Prabhupada said, yes. Why put all this energy and you don't even know if you're going to survive. Just be Krishna conscious, leave your body. So that may be in special cases, that sentiment may be there. So those are special cases. You'll never guess who has a question. There's this lady in the back. Her name starts with an S. She has a question. Or we're going to have to let him ask first, because he hasn't asked yet. Okay. Question.
You said Purusha cannot be enjoying.
Prakriti. The only Purusha that can enjoy is Krishna. But if we imitate the Purusha, because we're Prakriti, we can't enjoy because we have to be enjoyed by the Purusha. Yeah. So we're imitating Purusha. And that's why we're not happy. Even the women are female, but they're also imitating Purusha. So even though, we're all Purushas. Purusha imitators. Yeah. So Only Prakriti can enjoy, unless you're God. God can enjoy his Purusha, but we're Jiva, so we can't. We have to be enjoyed. Yes, Shitalangi has a question. Can you come closer? I don't think, with all this noise, I can hear. Why don't you come to the front? Come here. Everyone wants to see you. You can stand in front of the camera too. I said what? I can't hear you. Get the next body according to what we desire.
But it also happens that we also get something that we don't desire. For example, all my life, if I'm criticizing a fat person, then I'm told that the next body I will get of a fat person, although I may be desiring to be a thin person. So my karma works and my desire works.
Okay. She's asking, what in the next life I become fat? And in this life I desire to become thin. Well, maybe you fed so many people in this life that in the next life you're going to get so much food to you, you become fat. You know, that was a joke. Yeah. So, but if you feed people in this life, you'll definitely have enough food in your next life. More food than you need. But as Prabhupada explained to us, you have a desire, but you have to pay for it also. I desire this mansion. Okay, will I get it? Well, if you have money, you will. So I desire to be a thin. I want to be a Bollywood movie star, famous, rich, live in Juhu Beach, and have 3 vacation homes in South India, etc., etc. Okay, can you pay for it? So you have to pay for it with good karma. So now, maybe you have the good karma, so you become the Bollywood movie star. Doesn't mean you'll be happy, because you need to have happiness karma to go with it also. So it's a complicated thing. And maybe you don't have the karma to have that beautiful body, because you haven't done enough pious activity. So you have the desire, but not the karma. So you have to do something pious. And then you can design your next body. You have enough money in the karma account to design any body you want. But maybe you don't have enough body or money, so you're designing a body, but you don't have enough to pay for it. So you don't get it. But we're not interested in designing bodies anyway. But that's just a point of information. Yes?
So that desire alone is not enough. It has to be supported with
Piety, yeah. Sufficient karma.
So it works the same with the devotional service also. Like you said that we want to become a pure devotee. So the desire alone will not work. You also need to.
It starts with it. She's asking, will it work the same way in Krishna consciousness? If I desire being a pure devotee, is that enough? It starts with that desire. But you can't be a pure devotee just by desiring. You have to act. You have to perform the process, which makes you a pure devotee. So the desire is the motivator. But the actions are what's going to purify you. Both go together. But just desiring is not complete. I desire to get out of bed. I have a really strong desire to get out of bed. Well, just get out of bed then. No, but I have the desire. Did you get out of bed? No, but I have the desire. No. It doesn't work like that. Is the desire enough to get out of bed? Maybe. But you still have to get out of bed. You still have to do it. Yes? We've got to take first questions and then we'll come back to the... Yes?
If we are suffering because of someone else's action,
Yes.
How can I make sure that it's not basically based on my previous karma that I'm suffering, or it's a new set of action?
Oh, he's asking a good question. Maybe I'm suffering due to someone else's karma. So how would I know if that's destined to my past or it's present? In other words, the cause is directly caused by that person who's connected to me, or it came from the past. You won't always know. But for a devotee, we don't have to know. Because as a devotee, we're instructed in the Bhagavatam that whatever suffering comes, we think we deserve it, and we deserve more. So that's why we don't blame anybody. So you might think, I know I have good karma, and I know I'm suffering now because you made a mistake, and I'm married to you, or you're my mother or father or brother or sister or something, and we're connected, and I'm suffering because... But that could be true. But even if it is true, a devotee will think, but I deserve it. Like what bad karma, what sinful activities have I performed to be born in a country that has a president like Donald Trump? I don't know what sin I've committed, but the fact is, it's happening, right? So, as a devotee, I think whatever's happening is, I deserve it. Not only do I deserve it, I deserve worse than it. That's how a devotee thinks. So, we don't really have to wonder how it's happening. We just have to know how to accept it in a Krishna conscious way. There's so many things that seem to be other people's fault, isn't it? Like, so much of our suffering appears to be other people's fault. Maybe it is, but a devotee never thinks that way. Thinks it's divine arrangement. And by Krishna's mercy, I got less and I deserve more. That's how a devotee thinks. Tate nukampam sushamikshamano. You know that verse? 10th canto of Bhagavatam? Tate nukampam sushamikshamano. I'm always looking for Krishna's mercy. Ridbhagapur. And I'm tolerating it. Yes. We were envious of Krishna. I can hardly hear you. Can you? We've heard we were with Krishna once upon a time. Because in envious we've fallen down. How can envy develop up there? Well, we need about 4 hours to answer this question effectively. How can we become envious of Krishna? Well, the simple answer is you can't. But then it doesn't answer your question. But if I was with Krishna and I felt because of envy, it's a complicated situation. I can give an answer that won't satisfy you. But I can't say it won't satisfy you. It's the answer Prabhupada gave, which was, don't worry about it. You're here now. Figure out how to get out. You're in the hospital with a broken leg. You were a little kid climbing up a tree, and then you're laying. Did I fall from the south side or did I fall from the east side? Did I fall from the top? Was it the middle? Was it the bottom? Was I facing forward or facing back? Did I twist around when I fell? The doctor will be saying, like, why are you asking all those questions? I have to give you physiotherapy to cure yourself. That's what you need to. So devotees were asking these kinds of questions. Prabhupada, how could we be envious of, how could we leave Krishna? How could somebody leave the spiritual world? And some acharyas say, well, we were never in the spiritual world, and so forth. And it was kind of not going really anywhere, back and forth with Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada just said, yeah, just, it doesn't matter. Because if you talk about it enough, you will get different ideas. And one idea will be, you can't be envious of Krishna. Another idea is you can't fall from prema. But Prabhupada said, we were with Krishna, you could go back and fall again. What does that mean? And some acharyas will say, you never were with Krishna. You were never envious, you just didn't choose Krishna, you chose Maya. You didn't even know who Krishna was. They'll say different things. So I think Prabhupada's answer is the best, because if you try to get into these other arguments, it's like, no one's going to be satisfied. Because, I left Krishna, that makes no sense. How could you leave Krishna? Like one day you wake up and one of the cowherd boys is gone. Whoop. Where did he go? He's down there. How did he get there? I don't know. Why did he go there? I don't know. I guess he's stupid. It's like, it doesn't make sense. I even have a godbrother who said, you didn't fall from the spiritual world, you fell from the pastimes on earth. That's where you started. You started, so there's so many different ideas. But envy definitely is keeping us in this world. We know that, but for sure. Yeah. Yes. And taking that idea, because of enviousness we have fallen, because of enviousness, we're still here. So it seems that was the point Prabhupada focused on the most. But if whatever caused you to fall, you would have to purify that to go back, right? Because you can't go back with the thing that kicked you out. If you have any enviousness, how could you get back in? So if it's envious that caused us to fall, or hatred or aversion, then we have to purify that to get back, right? Yes? Yes or yes?
Yes.
And envy is very deeply rooted. Yes, Prabhu. Because of our conditioning of sense gratification from the past? In this life. Okay. Yeah, we have contamination. Yes. Tendency to? We have the tendency to criticize. We could criticize and we convince ourselves we didn't. We were just stating the facts. Tendency is there, but we tell ourselves it's not there. We delude ourselves, and then we live with the anartha. What? How does that happen? I can explain. There may be many reasons. I think one of the challenges we have in dealing with our false ego is to admit our own faults. And that's one of the main reasons we criticize, because when you criticize, you don't have to introspect. You're just looking at somebody else. And so the question comes, well, why would I look at someone else and not myself? And I think the answer is, or it could be a couple of reasons. I think one of the answers is we're afraid. Because if I actually look at myself, I'm very afraid to see what I'd find. There's a saying by, I don't know who wrote this. It might have been Michelangelo, perhaps. He said, I don't think it was him, I can't remember. He said, great is the man who doesn't run away. Great is the man who doesn't run away when he sees his own reflection. You finally see who you are. And then you bury your head in the sand. I can't look at that. Great is the man who doesn't run away from his own reflection. Isn't it? Isn't it difficult? Like to face that? Wow. I'm not as great as I think I am. Or I make mistakes that I don't think I made. So, in your question, really what you're saying is that it can be difficult for us to admit that we're actually finding fault. We'd rather see that we're just pointing out a fact, or we have some insight into the situation, or that our opinion is it's necessary in dealing with this situation, rather than just say, no, it's none of that, I'm just a fault finder. That's really hard for the ego, isn't it? The ego is saying, This is what the ego is telling us. The reason you found this fault is because you're so intelligent. Nobody but you sees it. And that's the problem with ISKCON. Nobody sees this fault that I see. That's pretty funny, isn't it? Yes? That's a funny statement. But what we're supposed to see, well, the actual problem is I'm not very humble. But we have a hard time admitting it. Because it can be very depressing, discouraging. Right? But, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the reality is, if you don't know what's wrong with you, you can't do anything to cure yourself. Right? And so my realization is the false ego is afraid to actually look at ourselves objectively. It would rather look at ourselves subjectively. And that's why if someone gives you feedback and tells you you did this wrong, your gut reaction will be to deny it. You'll either say, no I don't, or you'll say something like, you do it also. Or something like, you have no right to say that. You're my junior. That's kind of admitting your guilt by saying those things, isn't it? You know, you're just saying, I can't handle this. It's so true, I can't handle it. You never said it's wrong. You just said, you do it too. You have no right to say that. How do you know I'm like that? So we're afraid to acknowledge it. So I've been teaching devotees something that's not easy for everyone, but I've been teaching devotees, understand where you're at. Understand exactly where you're at. Don't be afraid to look at it and accept it. Don't be afraid if you have this fear or this anartha or this lust or whatever it is you have, either a spiritual defect or a material defect. Don't be afraid to look at it. Just be okay with it. It's all right. You're a conditioned soul. You're not supposed to be perfect yet. So just be okay with that reality, and then be happy that you can work on it. Don't be unhappy that you have it. Be happy that you recognize it and you can work on it. That's very, very important. Because otherwise the false ego will cover it up, so we won't even know what we need to work on, because we'll be afraid to admit it. Right? So if we can learn to be okay with our defects, and just, this is how I am, I'm sorry, it's just, you know, this is how I was raised, who knows what I did in my other lifetimes, this is just who I am, and accept that without beating yourself up and torturing yourself, and then be enthusiastic to work on it. That's it. That's how it works. I developed this strategy for solving problems, which I'm going to teach. We're having a retreat in Mayapur, February 22nd to 26th. If you want to come, you can register somewhere, maybe on my website. And I'm going to teach this principle. I taught it before. When you have a problem, the first step is you have to see the problem exactly as it is. Not better or not worse. And so a lot of times we look at a problem and we think, it's not that bad. It's really not, I don't have to deal with it, it's not that bad. Or we say, it's really bad, I can't deal with it. It's too bad, I can't look at it. No. Don't look at it better than it is, or don't look at it worse than it is. Just look at it. This is the problem. Like, in your case, you might say, my problem is I find fault and I tell myself I don't. Okay, look at it. That's it. That's the problem. Don't justify it. Don't rationalize it. Just look at it. That's the problem. Accept it. Right? You have to. So, it's a formula called face it, feel it, deal with it, and do it. The first thing is face it. Face it means just accept. This is the problem as it is. And the next thing is, this is the hard part, feel it. Because how does it feel when you face the problem? Your ego is like revolting. No, I can't be like that. I'm number one, you know, I'm perfect. And so you have to allow yourself, what are you actually feeling right now? You're feeling defeated, you're feeling depressed. You have to feel what you're feeling in order to face the problem. And a lot of people will not face problems because the feelings connected with the problem are so painful, they'll run away and they'll pretend there's no problem, or they'll just bury it somewhere in their closet and forget about it. So this is my personal experience from the work I've done in myself. If you can't allow yourself to feel the problem, you'll never be able to deal with it. Because after feel it, the next stage is deal with it. Deal with it means figure out what I have to do, and the last stage is do it. Do it. And you can't do it if you haven't allowed yourself to feel it, because you'll feel so guilty dealing with it that you won't do anything. So that's the power of the ego, in my experience. It doesn't want to be objective. It wants to be subjective. And one of the greatest qualities we can have is just to accept ourselves as we are, be okay with it, and then work on it. Because my experience is, no matter how bad you are, no matter what's wrong with you, once you start working on it, you feel some satisfaction that it's getting better. Okay, let's use a practical example. I just lost all my money. So number one, I have to face the fact that I'm stupid to lose all my money, and all my friends who have money are smarter than I. And I have to actually acknowledge that I can't live the same lifestyle I used to live because I don't have any money now, right? And that could take like 6 months just to acknowledge. After going into debt for 6 months, hey, wait a minute, I'm not making any money anymore. So that's painful, and you're in denial, and you're suppressing that reality. You're living the same lifestyle and spending the same money, but no money's coming in, and you know it's all being evaporated from your bank account, and pretty soon there's nothing there. So the day when you face it and say, I have no more income, I have to figure out how to live on my savings, my investments, or sell some properties, whatever. The day that you accept that, and the day you make a strategy, is the day you get inspiration and relief. And until you do that, you suffer. So that's why I say, just accept the problem as it is. Why? Because it is. That sounds pretty dumb, right? Accept the problem as it is. Why should I accept it as it is? Because it is. Because that's it, right? But when you deal with it and you have a strategy to solve it, that's when you start feeling happy that things are going to get better. So it's no longer a problem. Now it's exciting. You're improving. You're actually dealing with something that you neglected to deal with because you're afraid to admit it or afraid to feel it. Does that make sense? So in Mayapur, we're going to do this. We're going to ask people to face things that they resist facing and face it head on. It's just, look at this thing you're resisting, you know. Like for me, it was never easy for me to be a good husband. It was hard. It didn't come natural. And sometimes I would do things in Grihastha life that I felt were like kind of failures. I shouldn't have said that or done that. So there was always this resistance to face it, because by facing it, it meant I was a failure. Although I could tell you I'm a success here, 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 but there I was a failure. So how could I face that failure when I'm successful in every other area of my life? It was really difficult. But the moment I faced it, I could start working on it, and things got better. So it's so much better that I faced it. I'm so much better off now. And now if my wife says to me, Prabhu, we have to talk, which is, you know, the 3 most hellish words any husband ever wants to hear. You know, they start jittering and going to the toilet and say, can we do it later? And I got to run out now, you know, when I get back, you know. No man wants to hear those words, right? The 3 worst words for a husband to hear. Can we talk? Or we have to talk. And now when my wife says, can we talk? Yes, let's talk. Because I'm dealing with my inefficiency, and I know she's going to talk about something I need to improve. But because I've learned to face it and work on it, there's no problem now. But when I run away from it, it's always a problem when she says, can we talk? I don't want to talk. Do we have to talk? Can't we just, you know, it's not a problem, you know, why are you making it a problem? All of that, right? So once you learn to deal with it, everything is easy. But until you learn to deal with it and admit it, you have to carry it your whole life. So you can go your whole life pretending, no, I don't find fault. And one operette after another, no, I don't find fault. It's just what it is. I'm just pointing it out. Everyone's afraid to point it out. I'm the only one with guts. I'm the only one with nerve to point it out. And you go on, you know, just hiding from the fact that you're actually finding fault, because it makes you feel good to think that you're not. What's the point? So can we come to the point and just be okay with our fault and say, this is it. It just is. It's not, don't judge it. Here's the problem. You're going to hear all this in my report. But here's the problem. We find a fault and we start judging ourselves. You're this, you're this, you're this, you're bad, you're stupid, you're whatever, right? Why not just see the fault and don't judge it? It just is. You go to the doctor. Doctor says, you have stomach problems. Oh, that means I'm so stupid. That means I'm so incompetent. No, it means you have stomach problems. That's all it means, right? Doesn't mean anything else, right? It just means you have stomach problems. But we just, oh Prabhu, you're not very good at this. Then all the judgment comes, right? So you have to be able to look at yourself without judgment. Just, this is the problem, this is what it is, and that's it. Don't judge it as good or bad or up or down, left and right. It just is, and then you can work on it. But it's when you judge it, you can't work on it. Because you start thinking, I'm so bad, I'm so this, and then you just run away from it, right? So, Krishna talks about going beyond duality. Well, when you look at your problems, go beyond duality. Don't judge them. Just see them and deal with them. Yes? You got something else? Say, we should not judge the problem. Recognize it, not without judgment. Yeah. You should not judge yourself for having the problem. That's what I mean. You can judge the problem, but don't judge yourself for having. Don't say, I'm bad because I have this problem. Just say, this problem is bad, but we need to work on it. But don't say, I'm stupid or bad or whatever because I have the problem. That's when you'll get handicapped. And then that's why you don't want to look at the problem, because you're going to judge yourself when you see it. Whereas if you don't judge yourself when you see it, then you can look at it and just deal with it. Yeah, exactly. You can't deal with it because you block yourself from dealing with the problem because of the judgment. Couldn't hear that. Maybe somebody can relay what he just said. It's this. Every devotee wants to prove himself. Devotee wants to prove in Krishna consciousness. Yes? Should be conscious of the fact that the Lord should be conscious of his own faults and work on it. Perfect, yeah. And not judge himself for the faults, accept that these are faults. Again, my point is, it's like, if there's a spot on the wall, why pretend there isn't a spot? Just go clean it. Well, no, it's my temple. In my temple, there wouldn't be a spot on the wall because I'm the best temple president in ISKCON. No, Prabhu, there is a spot there. No, that's not a spot. It's not a spot. You just think it's a spot. There cannot be spots in. That's the false ego. No, but the good president says, thank you for pointing out the spot. Let's clean it. Let's see what we have to do to take it. It's not a problem. It's not about me being a bad president. It's just a spot. That's all it is. It's not about you being a bad person. It's just there's envy or there's criticism or that. That's just normal for a conditioned soul. So when you look at all these problems, one of the things we have to think is, well, this is just normal. This is how people are in the material world. And so why should I put myself down for it? Everybody has these problems, right? Everybody has false ego. Everyone's critical. Everyone's envious. And what you'll find is, when a devotee advances, it's easy for them to admit that. They'll tell you, well, why did you do that? I say, Prabhu, I'm so envious. When somebody is successful, it just bothers me so much. They'll admit it because they've confronted it. They're okay with it. They know that's a problem, and they're working on it. They don't have a false ego that's trying to project that everything's perfect, right? If you're trying to project to other devotees that you don't have problems that you have, That's not Krishna consciousness, that's material consciousness. And if you're trying to pretend you don't have a problem, then how are you going to work on the problem? Because you don't even know you have it. Your car has a flat tire, you don't even know it. You get home, the whole tire is torn up. Right? How come you didn't fix the tire? I didn't know I had a flat tire. Boom, boom. You didn't know you had a flat tire? Been driving for an hour like this. Boom, 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 boom. No, I didn't know. I thought it was just a bad road. Yeah. You didn't know you have false ego, Prabhu? How many friends do you have? Well, I don't have any. No. Oh, well, there's signs. There's feedback. And we don't notice it? Isn't it? The world's giving you feedback, envy, jealousy, all these things, there's feedback, and we don't notice it. Why? False ego blocks us. We don't want to notice it. So then we carry it with us. It's okay not to be a pure devotee. It's perfectly fine. But it's not okay not to work on it. That's the mantra. It's okay not to be a pure devotee, but it's not okay not to work on it. Does that make sense? It's not a problem if you're not pure. That's normal. One time, a brahmachari raises his hand and he says to one of the gurus, he says, it's a young brahmachari. Young brahmacharis, they always have this problem. They say, why would anybody get married? He's a brahmachari and he can't figure out why would anybody get married, because then you have to stop book distribution and get a job and so many things. And the guru said, because it's normal. Which obviously was not what the brahmachari was thinking. Because that's just normal, I look at the brahmachari, I say, why would anybody be a brahmachari? That's abnormal. How many brahmacharis are there out of the 7 billion people in the universe? A few thousand? So that's actually abnormal. So, I'm so bad I got married. No, you're just normal. You're super. If you don't get married and you remain brahmachari, then you're super special. But if you get married, you're just like everybody else. You're normal. But instead, you beat yourself up. So, work on it. That's the thing. Work on it. That is the biggest fault, that you don't work on it. Biggest fault, you don't work on it. Yes? You agree? It's already 1:30 and we have more questions. What do we do? Since it's my last day, we go till 7 tonight, right? We turn it into a workshop. What do we do? I have a question in my hand. He has a question. Whoever wants to stay, stays. I can't hear you. One more question? Take the question and we'll see what's next. Can you elaborate on Nitya Baddha and Nitya Mukta? We are Nitya Baddha, then can we become Nitya Mukta? Yeah. Nitya Baddha means we're eternally bound, and Nitya Mukta becomes we're eternally liberated. So these are Sanskrit words, which maybe they don't translate well into English, because an eternally bound soul can become eternally liberated, which kind of doesn't make sense. But it means once you're liberated, that's it. You're liberated. And until you're liberated, you're not liberated. So until you're liberated, it looks like you're pretty much bound. You've been bound for so long. Who's got a calculator that can calculate the number? Better just say Nitya. You're eternally bound. That's easier to say than give a number. So yeah, you've been in the material world time immemorial, eternally bound, and you become Krishna conscious, you'll be eternally liberated. And yes, we can become eternally liberated by Prabhupada's mercy. So, he has a question, but maybe we'll wait, and anyone who has a question can ask after. What? Okay. When I take prasadam, you can come and I'll sit and ask questions. That's fair. Okay. So whoever wants to ask more questions, you come to the... What you call it? Okay, whatever that is. Gaur Nitai. The Gaur Nitai Prasadam Hall? That, yeah, just you come up there and then you can sit down and then we'll talk some more. Is that okay? Thank you very much. We have a program for some young boys at 4:30 who just started working in corporations to help them overcome their depression. No, just to help them. And if you want to come, you're welcome to sit in and listen. We're going to talk about the struggles of material existence in the modern workplace. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari.